aggression against Ukraine is a challenge to the rule-based international order, and the G7 has responded in a united manner. The G7 will continue to strongly promote sanctions against Russia and supports for Ukraine. Let's bring in Dr. Satoru Nagao, non-resident fellow at the Hudson Institute. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much for inviting me again.
How should the G7 address the sanction against Russia?
Yes, G7 has already started and imposing sanctions against Russia and stand with Ukraine. So firstly, is of course, G7 must make the Russia's aggression fail. So that's why the supporting Ukraine by providing the military equipment. Of course, in the G7, the 6 countries provided Ukraine lethal weapons. Japan hasn't provided lethal weapons, but military equipment Japan also provided to Ukraine. In case of Japan, the helmet, bulletproof jacket, or the generator, or of course, humanitarian assistance, any this kind of the material support. Japanese car also. So this one's Japan support. And other G6 countries of the G7 provide more lethal weapons, tanks, missiles, artilleries, or ammunitions. These are the more direct military support. So because economic sanction is also the matter of concern for G7 to impose sanctions against Russia. This is logistical part. Because if the Russia has enough supply, Russia can win. This is war. This is nation versus nation war. So what kind of factor is the most important between what kind of the factor is most important in the war? Nation versus nation war. Logistics, supply, more ammunition, more weapons, more soldiers in the front line. That is important part. So, of course, the NATO side can provide a weapon. I have already explained. But at the same time, we need to cut the supply of Russia. If Russia has enough money, Russia has enough semiconductor, Russia has enough weapon and ammunition, and Russia has enough truck to carry, Russia can continue their military operation, and there is a possibility Russia can win. If the G7 side stop Russia, their military operation, how to do that? Cut the supply is the answer. So how to cut the supply? Economic sanctions. Economic sanction, under economic sanction, Russia cannot get the money. Under economic sanction, Russia cannot get the material like the semiconductor to produce weapons. That's why imposing economic sanction is directly linked with the military operation in Ukraine. So G7 focusing on that. For example, one of the methods is famous SWIFT. SWIFT is international trade system by using the US dollar. But excluding Russia, Russia cannot use the US dollar to trade because because of this sanction. SWIFT is very swift to trade by using US currency. So under this, what happened? Russia need to talk each country to trade with them by using which currency. So, for example, between the Russia and India, India continue to buy Russia oil. But in this case, how to pay? Ruble or rupee? Rupee is Indian currency and ruble is Russian currency. If the India receives ruble, India receives the ruble, that's true. But that is a problem because ruble is nothing. by using ruble, India can trade with Russia, but India cannot use this ruble to trade with other country. Ruble is only Russia because no country want to get the ruble. So when they talk to trade, let's use the rupee. India asks Russia. But in this case, they need to decide the rate. How much ruble can exchange with how much rupee? That is needed. So each trade needs a negotiation. That's why excluding from SWIFT is very beneficial for the countries in the world except Russia. This is economic sanctions. So Russia cannot trade without negotiation related with the currency now. So delaying this trade means that delaying the getting money for Russia. And Russia cannot get the money means that Russia cannot get the other product to produce armed weapons. This means that they cannot provide weapons to the soldier in the front line in Ukraine. That's why economic sanction is effective. Even if Russia can continue to trade with China, trade with India, trade with other countries, that's true. In case of India, India is neutral. In case of China, China say they are neutral, but we do not think so. China is supporting Russia. But under such kind of situation, even in such kind of situation, currency is a matter of concern when they trade. That is one of the examples. That is the reason that this economic sanction is effective. And I need to add one more thing. Indeed, semiconductors is very important to produce weapons. Weapon is a sensitive one, so easy to block. But weapon is very sophisticated one, very latest. Many semiconductors weapon use. Tank, yes, tank is running the ground. Tank is just an iron and gun. That's not true. To hit the target, they need a computer. They need the semiconductor. So if the Russia cannot get the semiconductor, they cannot produce tank, Air Force, fighter jet, missiles. Of course, these weapons need the semiconductor. Ship needs a semiconductor too. Russia launched many cruise missiles from the sea, Black Sea in this case. They use the ship, but ship needs a semiconductor. So economic sanction, and Russia cannot get the semiconductor to produce a weapon. That is also the effective as economic sanction. So how to deal with Russia's aggression to Ukraine? Firstly, supporting the Ukraine forces to defend their country, but secondly, imposing sanction to cut their supply to Russia is another matter of concern. So I use the example of the SWIFT or semiconductors. These are the methods we have done, G7 country has done, and more effective one, cap of the oil prices or other one, also matter of concern, and already imposed. So these are the methods G7 has done against Russia. Other things in the United Nations, they try to criticize the Russia's move or try to persuade other countries to cooperate with the sanction against Russia. These are also the efforts, but importantly, the first two, supporting Ukraine's defense and imposing sanction against Russia, I picked up as two pillars. Thank you.
What can we expect in the next 6 months with Russia's attitude to Ukraine? What can we look forward?
Currently, we are watching the situation in the front line because Ukraine's counter offensive operation will start, we think. But the Russian side expects such kind of move, and Russia's defense line is strengthened also. But view from the current situation, what kind of situation is beneficial for which country is a matter of concern, because and especially China's move is interesting. next 6 months, if the Ukraine's operation will succeed and Putin face the serious situation because Ukraine is winning, in this case, is this beneficial situation for China? No. China needs Russia and Putin will lose. This means that if the regime change has happened in the Russia, new government, there's a possibility this new government of Russia will cooperate with Western countries. In this case, China will be alone. It looks like containing China will be achieved because Russia is Western side, Quad countries cooperate each other, and NATO declares a victory. In this case, China will be alone. China treaty-based allies only North Korea. But if Russia win in the Ukraine, is this beneficial for China? I don't think so. Because if Putin win in Russia, still China will confuse. Because there is a possibility Putin will be the hero in the hero of the many autocratic countries, and China cannot control the Putin. So Russia is independent, and China is independent, and China will be alone to deal with United States. So U.S.-China competition, China will be alone. Only North Korea is a former ally. So what kind of situation is beneficial for China? Status quo. Looks like the Korean Peninsula. If Russia cannot win, Ukraine cannot win, and they continue to fight forever, in this case, Russia will be under sanctions of the Western countries, and Putin rely on China. Putin can keep the leader of the Russia, but Putin's fate rely on China. China can grow their influence toward Russia. So in this case, what kind of situation China want to maintain? Is maintaining the front line in Ukraine, maintaining the war is beneficial for China. So that's why what will happen next 6 months? If the Ukraine's counter-strike operation, counter-offensive operation has succeeded, China will support Russia to push back, to maintain war, maintain the front line. But if Russia's operation has succeeded, this is not also the China's interest. So China will not support Russia. So what China will do in the next 6 months is, if the Russia faces a crisis, China will support. But if Russia succeeds, China will not support. China try to manage the front line in the middle. Looks like the Korean Peninsula. What happened in the Korean War is an example in this case. China sends 1 million soldiers to support North Korea. But China do not have the will to occupy South Korea. Maintaining the front line is beneficial for China. Do not come. The US Army should not come, must not come, just side of Beijing. It's an interest for China. But the integration of the Korean Peninsula is not interest for China. Maintaining the current line is beneficial for China. Looks like this. In Ukraine, they will choose the same thing. And under this, Putin rely on China, China will grow their influence. And China can say, China, do not support Russia too much. That's why the United States cannot get a legitimate reason to impose economic sanction against China. So China's support is step by step and manage everyone as a card in this case. And Putin need to say China thank you. But even if China will not make Putin the victor. So this is one of the examples of what will happen in the next 6 months. Only the China's move by focusing on, but that kind of situation will come I believe. Thank you.
Dr. Satoru Nagao, non-resident fellow at the Hudson Institute. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Reyron del Rosario. That's the Global Affairs Insider. Follow us to our next episode only here in IPDCI News Channel.